common NNPC graduate trainee interview questions and how to tackle them. I know you might be having questions regarding this. You want to know how you can handle NNPC interview questions when you see them. So in this video, we're going to be looking at them. Before we start looking at those questions, we're also going to look at some of the things you need to know you get before the interview day, some of the tips you need to take note of. The interview questions we're going to tackle in this session are going to come from different angles. We have the questions which are general, and then we have the NNPC-based questions, and then we could look at industry-based questions and then call it a day. So if you want to learn, please ensure that you stay tuned. So let's learn to the end. So we have about I think we have more than 20 in total that we'll look at, but by the time you go through, understand the approach around answering them, understand the reason why those questions are asked, you would be better in your forthcoming interview, and I wish you all the best. So I've done a bit of the introduction. So the next thing, this is what this whole session is going to include: the introduction, which I've just done, useful tips about the interview process. Some of them will be CV-based questions. So it's important that you go through your CV to spot anticipated likely questions. So before you go into any NNPC interview, read your CV thoroughly. All the things you have written in your CV, you need to take note of them and be sure that anywhere they ask you questions from your CV, you can answer them. So you could get questions about a previous place you worked. They will ask you the name of the place. Excuse me. So it's not that time you don't know the name of one organization you worked in from them, let's say 2020 to 2021. Know the names of the organizations, know how you have written them in sequence, know the things you claimed you did there, right? So in 2020, you worked as personal assistant at social company, but then they're asking you, oh, what did you do in the year 2020? And you don't know again. So you don't want to fall your hand. Secondly, oil and gas industry review. Basically, it's also contained in the questions. Common interview questions for NNPC graduate trainee, which are part of the things we're going to deal with, and then we'll take feedbacks. So here are some of the useful tips. Before we go into the questions, let's take some useful tips, because it's always important to clear the road before. It's always important to sharpen your knife before you start cutting down a big tree. So ensure you dress. The dress code is usually very simple for the guys. Just do your suit. In the past, people have reported that some of our northern brothers go into the interview with their kaftans and they do not have issue. I really do not know how that works. So to be on the safer side, do your suit, right? If you can't do suit, your plain trouser and your shirts, and then maybe a tie should be enough if you do not want to put a jacket. So for the ladies, usually your blouse, you know how you do that, and you could also do your jumper suits, right? For the ladies, you're likely to face general questions, situational questions, NNPC-based questions, current affair questions, or behavioral questions. Some of those are already covered here. This is for graduate trainees. So these are some of the things graduate trainees can face. So always before the day of, or as you are in the process, always check NNPC pages to see if they have put out any updates that you need to take note of, so that you're not caught unawares. So if you're not following them yet on social platforms, you need to do that and keep tabs with them. Stay updated with the NNPC news this period, which you can get from their social platform, and that's why it's important. Terms and basic formula, terminologies, difference between terms as related to your field, right? So whatever you studied, ensure you know some of the key terms, right? So for instance, for somebody that studied petroleum engineering, terms like a platform, what is a platform? You should know what that means. You should know what a reservoir is. You should know what drilling in terms of petroleum engineering means. So that's that. Know the structure, excuse me. do a little research, try and find out the structure of NNPC, what's the hierarchy like. So just have that at the tip of your fingers. Then skills, you should know some of the skills you have that are applicable in NNPC or that will be relevant to NNPC. So for instance, when you get a question on what are your skills, you're not going to tell them baking or cutting of hair, right? You're giving them skills that are relevant, skills that can be easily applicable in the role that you might be assigned to at NNPC. So know your biodata. You could get questions about the project you've done, questions about safety, questions about environmental hazard, so forth. So the interview you're going to face will usually last around 20 to 30 minutes. People even say it's 15. Some people say it can be as little as 10 minutes. So you are not going to be bombarded so much, but ensure that when you're faced with the questions, you address them properly. The interview is usually friendly and interactive. Over the years, people have already said it. You're not put under any situation where they are forcing you to make mistakes or all of that. No. So it's usually friendly and interactive. Some people even recorded that sometimes the interview felt like a gist. So for those of you who already have anxiety and fear, feel free. Some people are saying when they got into the interview, it felt like they were just gisting until they were done. It didn't really feel like they were put under any pressure. So relax yourself. You have around 5 to 7 people panel to interview you. Ideally, you step into the room, the chairman on the interview, introduces others. So as a graduate trainee applicant, a lot will depend on your resume. So please take note. I think I've mentioned it before. Your resume or your CV, whatever you call it, is going to play a huge role. So know your CV, know your CV like your name. Know your CV, know what you have put, especially the CV used for applying. So if you do not remember, for people who have multiple CVs, go and look for that CV you used to apply. Go and look for it. Even if you've updated your CV, you now have a new one. Go back to that one you use in applying and see what you can do, right? And know what is there and see that you can answer any question that comes from there and discuss whatever stuffs are there. Did you write your project? Did you write till you got a certain CGPA? They might ask you, oh, what was your secret of getting this CGPA? It's not that time you start stammering. You need to be able to have good, proper conversation because you're a graduate. You should be able to hold reasonable conversation for a period of time. Most likely, NNPC will provide transportation allowance for attending their interview. You may be asked to write down your account details. So wherever center or wherever you are sent to for your interview, most times NNPC provides allowance to it might not be totally right, but they usually give something. They might not give it cash or immediately, but at the end, you usually get something. So calm your nerves, don't be under pressure. I said that the interviews are usually friendly. You'll be asked questions about your current organization and why you want to live there. So if you're applying for graduate training and you kind of have a working experience, you will be asked, why do you want to live here? And they want to see how you'll be able to connect that with what you're looking for in NNPC or what NNPC has to offer for you. I think we have a question like that in the sample, so we'll look at it. So have questions for the panel. Don't forget, have questions for the panel. Ensure that they will ask you, do you have any question for us? Ensure you have questions prepared to ask them. So that's that. So know your CV. Okay, I think we've covered it. So let's go. Okay, so let me just breeze through this. So terminologies, formula, differences, I think we talked about that. So latest news, names. So for the general current affairs part, know names of people, know the names of maybe the senator of your representing your own states, you know the name of the minister, know the name of your governor. So you don't want to be asked those questions and you don't have. If you have a gap in your CV, know what to say about it in case you're asked, right? So capacities of the refinery, they usually ask divisions, NNPC division in the upstream, midstream, downstream. And you also need to know what the meaning of upstream, midstream, downstream is. If you do not have a background in petroleum engineering, you could just read that up. Okay, so these are some of the other tips. You could always take a screenshot. And so usually, first questions you may get in an interview is, may we meet you? This question comes in different way. It could be, kindly introduce yourself. It could be, please, let's meet you. Tell us about yourself. Whatever way whatever way they present the question, this probably usually is the first question you're going to see. And this question, they are not telling you to, the purpose behind the question is not for you to start telling them your family, if you're from a family of 5 or from a family of 4. No, that's not what this question is for. This question is for you to introduce yourself. The parts that are usually important to interviewers for this question is, what did you study? What do you do currently? What skills do you have? Those are the things that are important to them. Any other thing you're saying is not important to them. So you can coin an answer like this. Thank you for that question. For your very first question, ensure you start with thanking them for the question, and then at the end you also say thank you. So when you say thank you at the end, they know that you're done with answering. So you can give an answer like this. Thank you for your question. My name is Olatunde Muse Arinze Fubara, and I am a graduate of Federal University of Technology, where I obtained my first degree in petroleum engineering. After that, I did my National Youth Service at College of Islamic Studies in Boria, Kwara State. I am skilled in metalwork, oil testing, petrol, software, and Java coding. Thank you. There are different ways you can coin this. You can even go further to state what you graduated with, the CGPA you graduated with, because those are your selling points. They need to know your selling point. So for this person, part of his selling point here is his skills, and that's why you see it listed there. So he said metalwork, oil testing, petrol software. For people in the engineering field, especially oil and gas, you know the use of petrol and Java coding. So those are his selling points. So they could even continue from there to ask him, oh, tell us about petrol. What do you know? What can you do with petrol? So they have opened the interview. So usually, again, the question, the way you answer the first question, whatever you provide in the first question would maybe set the tone for the other set of questions you would answer. So when formulating your answer for this question, it's usually good for you to have an answer. You don't cram it, but you just know what you want to say, right? It starts with, what's your name? Thanking them, what your name is, what you studied. It's usually important to say what you study, your background. That's your background. You can say what you studied, talk about after your studies, what did you do? You could state the CGPA, but so after studying, what do you do? After you finish with that, what are you doing currently, right? Just take it sequentially. They are not bothered about your family, so they want to first know your academic background, professional background, what's your skill set. These 3 areas are what is important to them, and then you can continue with the rest part of it. So question number 2, why do you want to work with the NNPC? So you must always know why you want to work with NNPC. And the best answer to this question usually contains 2 things. 1, what you hope to achieve by working at NNPC, and 2, what you hope to contribute by working at NNPC. So you can develop your own answer. And here's a sample. You can develop your answer. Here is a sample of something similar. And note that some of these answers, I'm keeping them simple so that you also do not have to start coming up with very complicated and long answers, so that you do not end up confusing yourself. Here's a simple answer. Thank you for that question. I want to join NNPC because my career trajectory aligns with the vision and mission of NNPC. I have the academic knowledge and field knowledge to provide value to NNPC, and I believe I'll be an asset to this company and our nation at large. Now, if I want to personalize that, I would say something like, thank you for that question. I want to join NNPC because my career trajectory in petroleum engineering aligns with the vision and mission of NNPC. I have the academic knowledge, having a Bachelor of Engineering from petroleum, having a Bachelor of Petroleum Engineering from Federal University of Technology, Owerri, and field knowledge during my IT and my post undergraduate work. this would allow me profile value to NNPC, and I believe I'll be an asset to NNPC and our nation at large. So you can coin this in different ways, use it to personalize your own, right? So you can also see that some of these stuffs I'm trying to innovate them on the spot, right? So you can do this at any time. There are different ways you can play around it. So this is another common question that comes up. You should have answers prepared in case you're asked. Another question that commonly comes up is, why did you leave your former place of work? So if you were working before and you've left, or if you're working and you want to leave, they would want to know, and they want to hear how you would answer that question so that they will decide if you're just interested in money. Of course, many of us good pay, right? So, but you don't want to base everything on good pay. You want to focus more on the values, the shared values that are there, right? So for this sample answer, we assumed this person hasn't worked before, so it's just fresh out of school. Of course, that's what graduate trainee roles are supposed to be, for people just fresh out of school. So thank you for that question. I haven't had any permanent employment since my graduation. After my undergraduate studies, I went for my NYC, where I was posted to Nigeria Content Development and Monitoring Board in Bayelsa State. And during that NYC, the NCDMB was tasked to train all corps members assigned to it, and mine fell with Dexterous Training Institute in Port Harcourt for 1 year. So my training at Dexterous assigned me to 3 months on the job training with Thompson and Grace. So I have not really gained full employment, and I'm looking forward to this opportunity with a Nigerian petroleum company. Thank you. So always note at the end of your answers, make sure you put thank you. So you should note how this is. For this person, they ask, why do you want to leave your current place? So, but this person is trying to explain that the work you're seeing on my CV is not really work, is actually NYSC experience. So you, for instance, if you're leaving your work, usually one of the best answers is usually you're open to fresh opportunities or fresh challenges, or you've been there for a while and now you want to take up fresh challenges, and they can see how many years you've been there or not. Or you can say, oh, working at NNPC gives me the leverage to pursue more and give more to the field of petroleum engineering in Nigeria. So that's another way to put that. So, right. So now you have like 2 answers to this question. Which of our business locations across Nigeria would you prefer? This one is usually simple. NNPC is across the nation. So just pick one and go straight. So there's no 2 ways, there's not too much to talk about it. So what skills do you have? I talked about this. When this question comes up, you are usually going to talk about the skill that you have that is relevant to NNPC. So note, you're not talking about baking. You're not talking about fashion designing. Those things are not relevant to NNPC. Whatever skills you're naming should be relevant to NNPC. So for instance, here is a sample answer. Thank you for that question. One of my skills include leadership. I have found that my leadership skills has enabled me to excel in multiple fronts, even from my secondary school days. Most recently, I held the position of course rep from my year 1 to my final year. And I know that it's also part of the things that helped me to put in more work, because I needed to represent myself properly and help me to gain better CGPA or graduating GPA. So another way you could put it is, thank you for that question. One of my skills is coding. I'm good in coding, and I believe that with the world going into tech more, and even the oil and gas system adopting more technology-based system, I believe that by working with other skilled professionals, we would position NNPC properly in a way that we would gain results and meet the global standards of today. So thank you. So remember that some of these things are just straight out of my head, and I'm just trying to put them together. So for you, you have the time to write them down, but always know the trend. Always understand why they're asking you the question. For this question, they want to see what you have that they can work on or work with. If one of your skills, you've already done a certification in HSC, you can use that. If you've done a certification in project management, that's your skill. You can use that. But if you can name more than one, right? Forget that my answer, I used one. can name more than one. So that's how it works. Tell us about the project you carried out, the objectives and recommendations. Please note, you are an entry, this thing is for graduate trainee. So I want to say you're an entry level, right? It's similar. Your graduate trainee, don't overdo yourself. For this kind of equation, or if you get this question about project, don't start looking for something. Just tell them what you did at your undergraduate project. Tell them what the project was about, what the result was. This answers this question. So I usually recommend for this one, there's no two ways about it. Oh, one of the projects I handled was in my final year, right? I handled this project, you call the topic. What was the objective of that project and what did you get as the final results? What was the recommendation? This is just what you need here. Please don't stress it, especially as a graduate trainee applicant. What is your salary expectation? This question might come to few people, but might not come to a few people, right? So might not come to more people. It usually comes sparingly. So this one is very simple. You're not going around trying to throw figures at them. NNPC naturally will pay you well. So you just say, thank you for that question. I am thrilled with the prospect of working at NNPC, and I'm sure that there's already an existing compensation plan for graduate trainees here. I will be happy to hear what it is, and I would like to work with that compensation. So it's just simple, however you put it. So, but don't bargain with them, especially for graduate training. It's not the time. So just tell them that you know that NNPC already has what it pays undergraduate. Graduate trainees. Sorry for saying undergraduate. Graduate trainees. So you don't mind working with that. What are your greatest strengths? So for this one also, you want to be careful not to sound too braggadocious, but the core of this answer is not just stating what your strength is, but stating what your strength is and what that strength has helped you to achieve so far. So the answer is never complete if you do not tell them, because anybody can just claim anything, but show them, and they can also see from your CV or from your interaction how it has helped you, right? So here is a sample answer. You can look at it and develop your own. Have answers to this thing written down. You're not cramming them, but by actively writing them down, you're trying to develop a method of forming answers, because on that day you are facing questions on the spot and you're supposed to tax your brain to develop the answers. So it's the same way. That's why you're having these sample answers to see how good answers should look like. So when you're having that interaction, your brain would also know how to bring out stuff for you. What is your greatest weakness? Having observed myself for a while, I believe that one of my weaknesses is public speaking. I usually find it challenging when tasked to talk to a large crowd, but knowing how important communication and my ability to speak to a large group of people is, I have enrolled for a training course and I am far better now than before. I only hope to keep improving. Thank you. So this question, whenever you ask a question about what is your weakness, what is your greatest weakness, yes, you're not supposed to lie, or you're not supposed to claim that you do not have any weakness. First, they are looking for your sincerity. Then after looking for your sincerity, they are looking for your proactivity. That is what this question is about. So if you notice that for every question, I've tried to tell you what the question really hopes to achieve. So it's not just about hearing the question. You first need to understand, what do they want to achieve by asking this question? What do they want to find out? For this question, they want to test your sincerity. Are you sincere enough to tell yourself the truth? Because it also applies to your work. If you cannot admit your own weakness, if you make mistakes at work that spoil something, you would never admit to it. You will be shifting blames, and you can never be a leader, right? So these are some of the. Then when you have admitted they want to see what proactive steps have you taken. So a perfect answer to this question should always be that you know your weakness, you state the weakness, you state what you have done or what you're currently doing about it, and then you end with thank you. So you can see how this is very simple, straight to the point. These things are easy. If you need additional assistance preparing, we offer interview coaching service. You should reach out to us. We would brush you up, and you would never believe that You were the one struggling before. So this is another safety related question that comes up. What is the first thing you would do? What is the first thing you would do when you are about to drive a vehicle, right? So this is a safety question. It could either be you check for the oil, you understand all those things. So these ones are, they just want to test your awareness, right? Awareness to your environment. They could even ask you, what's the first thing you do when you want to cross a road? You understand? Of course, those ones, they even taught us in primary school. You have to look right, look left, look right again before you cross something. So this next session we're going to enter is NNPC-based questions. If you've been learning something so far, please leave in the comment section that you've been learning something so far. Tell me any question you're having challenge with that you need a sample answer to, and I would be willing to answer that for you. So drop a comment in the comment section. Tell me what you've learned so far. Tell me any challenge you're having, any question you have that you need a sample answer, or you need ideas on how to. And if you need further assistance, drop in the comment section, I need further assistance for NNPC interview question. So if you need me to respond, ensure you use hashtag NNPC interview question. Anybody I'm going to provide additional support for must use that. So it's also another way to be sure that you watch to this part. So if you've watched to this part, we're about to enter the NNPC-based question. So don't leave. Let's continue and then prepare you for your interview. All right, come along. So the first question for NNPC-based question, these are some of the common questions. What do you know about NNPC? So you should, even if you do not know anything about NNPC, you should first know that they are government-owned. They are Nigerian government-owned. They are into oil and gas. They are an oil and gas company. They are licensed to operate in Nigeria. So they also operate. They have dual operations, both as operators and regulators. Even though most times is the regulator arm that, or regulator behavior that they take up mostly, because they need to regulate the system so that people because oil and gas really impacts our economy as a nation. So you should also know when it was founded, right? And who is the current GCEO. So there's usually another question they usually ask, that who is the GCEO? Mind you, that used to be called GCMD, Group GMD, sorry, it used to be GMD, Group Managing Director, but now is GCEO, Group Chief Executive Officer. So if you just know these 4 points, use that coin and answer, and then move ahead. So I hope I did not miss number 2, or did I make mistake? What value do you bring to NNPC / how is your past work experience relevant to NNPC? So these 2 questions are similar, whatever way they bring it. If they ask as what value do you bring to NNPC, or what does your past work hold, you should be able to talk about who you are. So this is not an answer, sorry. That should be a clue. So just talk about what you currently do. If for you, you've not started working, you just left school, talk about what you study and talk about how it is related to the work at NNPC, right? NNPC is an oil and gas company. So if you read accounting, for instance, it's your accounting, because as an accountant, they will not go and put you in engineering field now. It has to be in an accounting department. So you align it that way. So that's how it is. So somehow again, for you graduate trainees, because they might fix you in any other department that does not even necessarily have to be where you study. So you just have to see how you can explain that you have value, right? So what's the full meaning of NNPC? You should know that. So you can, NNPC, Nigeria National Petroleum Commission. Who is the current minister? Depending on the year you are applying, currently this Heineken Lokbo Barry is the current Minister of State for Petroleum Resources. Who is the immediate past? So you can always search this one out. What do you know about oil price determination? So just like most commodities, thank you for that question. Just like most commodities, the price of oil is determined by demand and supply in the market. But for the case of oil, it is more about the global demand that determines the price of oil. and not necessarily the quantities produced. So there are also oil supply is controlled somewhat by a group of oil producing nations called OPEC. So this is just what oil price determination is for, you get. So it's usually OPEC usually kind of regulates so that they kind of regulate the selling capacity of its member nations, right? Based on what you have, based on what you have in your reservoir, they now assign, and also your production capacity. So, but you can read more about it so that you can know what to say, or you can just work with this there. But don't cram. Just try to understand, and then you cannot always rephrase that in your terms. How many divisions does NNPC have? NNPC has 7 divisions comprising of 20 subsidiaries. So this kind of question, if you're asked, it's not just okay to just say, oh, NNPC has 7 divisions. Try to tell them more. Oh, NNPC has 7 divisions. You can even name, which includes engineering, oil and gas, investment. So these are like 3 divisions. So, but you can go further and name 1 or 2, or you can just say, oh, 7 divisions comprising of 20 subsidiaries. So 20 subsidiaries are spread into the 7 divisions. They know that you know more than that. So for these kind of questions that are short, try to even show more. You get how many subsidiaries does NNPC have? So already talked about that. Which NNPC subsidiary operates in the upstream? So you can take this one, you can read it up. You have them here, take a screenshot and see it. So that midstream, these are the ones that operate in the midstream. These are the ones that operate in the midstream, and these are the ones that operate in the downstream. So if you need this, if you are struggling screenshotting and need it, you can drop in the comment section, I need NNPC documents, then you use hashtag NNPC interview. So you must use the hashtag. If you don't use the hashtag, you might not get it, or you might not be responded to. So what is the production capacity of Port Harcourt refinery? So is there. So Port Harcourt refinery comprises 2 units, which is the old refinery capacity of 60,000 barrels per day, and the new plant, which is 150. So both summing up to this. So what is the production capacity of the Warri refinery? There you have it. What is the production capacity of Kaduna refinery? There you have it. So just know the answer. And so barrels per day is BPD, so right, 110. Kaduna is 110. Warri is 125. Then Port Harcourt, which is the one they are currently working on, or they said is working now, 210,000, because it has 2 plants. So that's that. So the biggest currently now is Port Harcourt. So if they also ask you, oh, what's the biggest NNPC refinery currently? So it's Port Harcourt, because they produce it. So who is the GMD of NNPC? There you have the answer. So depending on the year you're applying, know how to present the answer. What is petroleum industry bill? You need to also read that up. You might get that in your interview. So read that up. Who is current OPEC president? This also comes out for NNPC related questions. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? So this question, when you ask this question, the idea is to hear what you have to say and see how they, as NNPC, fall into your plans. So it's not just about you knowing where you want to be, but they want to see how and where they fall into those plans. If, for instance, you say in the next 5 years, you want to be, I'm just using for instance, you want to be the governor of your state, how does you being the governor of your state relate to them as a NNPC? So you're already like telling them that maybe in the next 2 years, you will leave the company. And so it means that you're not bringing stability. So whatever answer you're bringing should show that you're bringing stability, you're bringing growth. So while you're bringing growth in yourself personally, you're also bringing growth to them as NNPC. So a sample answer somebody will ask, I would say something like, thank you so much for that question. In the next 5 years, I want to see myself in a senior petroleum engineering role. I know that to achieve this, it will require me to develop myself in certain areas, including project management, leadership, and reservoir engineering. And I look forward to taking at least one professional course to enhance this before that 5 years time. And I hope that my contribution will help me grow in NNPC while also actively adding my best to NNPC. Thank you. So these kind of questions, always use thank you. Somebody asked me, must we always say thank you at the end? Well, I always advise that sometimes thank you helps them know that you are done and then they can continue. So that's a sample answer. You can come up with your own and work with that. So we're not going to be talking about STAR technique for now, so that I can take your questions and so that I'll have time to take your questions. So the floor is open now for your questions. So remember I said in the comment section, tell me what you have learned so far. Tell me what you have learned so far. If you've gained value, tell me you've gained value. Then tell me what you've learned so far. If there's any question you have that you need a sample answer to, or if there's anyone in this place you need another sample answer to, leave it in the comment section. But ensure you use hashtag NNPC interview so that I would attend to you. If you just ask the question without using the hashtag, I will respond to you. Also, for the sake of those who would want to continue the learning, if you need this document, also drop in the comment section that you need the document, and then use hashtag NNPC interview. If you do not use hashtag, you will not be attended to. So let's take questions now and see how we would go with this, right? So let's take questions.